welcome to my gallery and my channel Enjoy Watercolour Painting. Today we're looking at shadows, not just looking at shadows but really seeing how shadows can create depth in your watercolour painting. Here I have keys hanging on an old door, painted I think way back in 2017. But it does help to illustrate how painting shadows can give you depth, with the shadow created by the key on the door giving a three-dimensional look. So this is what we're going to do today. We're going to take an object, paint it and then create the shadows which will lift it off the paper and give the depth that you want to achieve in your watercolour painting. So let's paint. So here I have my model all set up and ready to go. 3 old keys from the house on an old board with lots of texture, which will really help to give us that lovely textural look to the painting. Light is coming from this direction and we see the shadows that we want to reproduce here quite clearly. So follow me in the different processes and enjoy. I have a piece of Arches watercolour paper, 300 grams and fine grain, and I have done a simple sketch of the 3 keys using a 2B pencil. And I have now put that sketch onto a board, stretch the paper, and I'm now going to wet the paper with my hake brush in quite a random way. I don't really want the paper to be wet all over. I want to start to create the texture of the wood of the old board which the keys are hanging on. And I have 2 palettes, Payne's Grey and Indian Red, and this is the palette that I'm going to use first, dropping the paint onto the wet surface of the paper. Again, it's all very random. I'm using also another palette with burnt sienna and Payne's Grey, so therefore I have 2 different nuances of black, and I can move the board now and let the paint run. Because there are some dry areas, it's not going to be an even run, but this is what I want. And I can use the hake brush now to drag the colour down almost over the length of the paper. I've used this long format because it's a very vertical picture with the keys hanging on the board. Now I can add more colour wherever I need it and then move it again. Always spotting the colour on and then letting the water move it so we get this textured surface. It doesn't matter that I'm covering the pencil sketch, because when it's dry the pencil sketch will be visible and I can then start to add detail. But for the moment, I'm just adding these 2 blends of grey in effect to create that woody textured look, the whole length of the paper. Just move it a little bit more, and then we really do need to let it dry. Sorry about the clock, just seemed to pop up some of the time. Here the paper's dry now, and so I'm doing a basic colour on the objects. No need to worry about shadows at this stage, just really blocking in the colour, but using the same palette, the Payne's Grey Burnt Sienna palette. There's lots of tiny detail in this picture, and I'm going to try not to dwell too much on the detail of the objects, but pay more attention to the shadows. But of course, to create a shadow we need an object, so the object has to be visible and believable. And these old keys are full of texture and rust, which adds interest. Of course, I've speeded the video up, so we're watching the video in a reasonable amount of time and it doesn't become too tedious. I hope you can see it clearly. I'm going to do some clearer, more close-up shots later. Basically, because the light is coming from the right, I'm putting more colour on the left-hand side already, just to give the keys definition. Sometimes people do tend to do too much detail at this stage, but really what you're really doing is giving yourself the chance to see the picture, the composition as a whole, and it doesn't really matter about the detail. I'll go back to them later. So now I'm trying to show you a more close-up view. We have the objects there visible, and I want to do the shadows, and I'm going to be braver with the shadows than I have been with the detail of the objects. This is the shadow cast by the large rusty nail, and it's at an angle because of the angle of light coming across the object. So be brave with your shadows. I'm using a liner brush and putting it on quite boldly. There's a bend in the old ticket on this key, and so the shadow is more intense in the fold of the ticket. And this helps to give you the feeling that the ticket is actually not flat, but has contours. It's magic, really. You want to be able to feel that you can pick the key and the ticket up off the surface, and even the little pieces of string which are joined to the tag, the ticket on the key, do cast their own shadow. I'm using the liner brush first as a pointy end, but then I always wash down the edge of the shadow just to soften it. The shadows are more intense by the side of the object and then become paler as we go away from the object. Running down the length of the tape which connects one key to the other. Maybe it's quite a complicated choice of subject, this, and it won't all be achieved in this video, but it gives me the chance to go over the process of creating the shadows. So it's colour and then wash it down, just using more than the point of the brush, but flattening the liner a little to spread that colour, just to ease the shadow, dilute the shadow away from the object. Then the other shadow of the nail. There's plenty more work, of course, to do at the background. I'm not going to do that in this video because, as I've said, this picture, being a complex picture, will require more work. But this is just principally about the shadows we create to give that three-dimensional look. And this is the initial process, nearly complete. So now we have the dark shadows and we require a little bit more detail on the objects, which has taken time, and I've kind of leapt ahead a little here because I have added more information to the objects. You can see the ticket, the tab on the key is got slightly more information, but I'm going back to my shadows again now. I'm going back to add more contrast. Sometimes we have to revisit shadows several times to get that intensity, to create that feeling of the three-dimensional object. Head's in the way, sorry. Must improve the technique with this videoing. There, I'm washing. You can see now, because we're more close up, the process of just spreading the shadow a little, which immediately helps the object to leap off the paper. For those of you who enjoy really close, detailed work, this is a lovely subject to paint. Again, more shading. Really lifts those keys. Nearly at the end of this process now. There will be more work to do on the background, which I'm not going to do in this video, but you can see now the object, the model, and the painting. Thank you for watching my video. I hope you enjoyed it, and it's given you an insight into the importance of shadows in creating depth in your painting. If you haven't done so already, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and leave any comments you may have. I enjoy your comments and suggestions. So until the next time, happy painting. Bye.